Hey everybody, we are talking about another love rules today, and it's an important one. It's a controversial one because basically your love rules for today is to turn off the me show. That could kind of be ouchy for some people. So we're going to talk about today the differences between being me-centered and we-centered, and how you can learn to love people more intentionally and authentically by being focused on the we instead of the me.
That's right.
So, okay, let's get started. We are going to focus on, Catherine and I are going to play a little tennis here. We're going to talk about me versus we. First and foremost, if you are a me-centered person, you might have the tendency to be a little bit numbers driven. And what I mean by that is that quantity counts in your kingdom, in your land of me. And so you might be focused on the number of friends that you have, maybe the number of people in your fitness class, maybe the number of people who like or follow you on social media. Those things really matter and build you up if you're me-centered.
Yes, and if you're we-centered, guess what? You're a quality person. You are more concerned with the quality of your friendships. You're more focused on depth, possibly, rather than breadth.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you're not super concerned with numbers or with how many people showed up to your fitness class. That one or two people that showed up is just enough for you.
Yeah. If you're me-centered, you also might be performance-oriented. You know, whether that's your personal performance, maybe you're focused on how you acted or behaved that day. Maybe you are even overly sensitive to how people performed or behaved towards you. That would be another indicator that you are kind of operating or running a me show.
And if you're we-centered, guess what? You are participation-oriented. And kind of a little funny aside for this, I was terrible at math, like all growing up, all through high school. It got to the point where I would come home, my head down, my pre-cal test, and I was like, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was like, Mom was like, what did you get? I said, 64. And she said, you got more than half right! And I know that sounds silly, but obviously my mom cared more about the fact that I had tried as hard as I could and was more concerned about my participation rather than my performance.
Yeah, that's good. Another quality of running a me show is your need for control. Ouch. I'm talking to myself here. A lot of times, if you are me-focused, you are worried or concerned with making sure things go your way, on your schedule, on your terms.
Yes, and if you're we-centered, you're more concerned about collaboration. You're open to the ideas of others because you don't feel threatened by them. You're secure. You want to collaborate with people also because you know that you don't have all the ideas and all the answers.
So another way that you could be running a me show is if you are future focused. Now this might sound like a hidden attribute, but what we mean by this is that you are always looking for the better deal, the better offer, the better conversation, the better opportunity. That is kind of looking towards the future to see what is coming next that could potentially be better than what is.
Yes, and just to give an example about this before we jump to the we show, is when you're having a conversation with somebody and they're looking at you, but then looking at the other people that they could possibly be talking to besides you, that's a good me show example.
That's a better dealer.
That's a better dealer. But if you are we-centered, you are present. You're present with people, no matter the person. You give them your time, your attention, your eye contact, and you're present with those around you.
That's good. Again, if you're me-centered, this is a hard one, but you tend to economize relationships. And what I mean by that, what I mean is that you value people based on what that person has or can do for you. And it's an unfortunate thing. It happens all the time, especially we've learned here in the business world that economy of relationships is a real factor. And it's often because that person is focusing on what can this person do for me, or how can this person help me get to my better opportunity or meet my goals.
Yeah, people are more of a stepping stone than a person. If you are we-centered, you just, bottom line, you value people just because they're a person and they're in front of you. You're, not necessarily looking at them for what they can give you or how they can take you to the next level, but you're loving them just because they're that person in front of you.
Just because they have skin.
Yes.
If you are me-centered, you may also struggle with often figuring out how can I get something from this person, how can I manipulate this situation so that it often looks like economizing relationships, but in that me-centered attitude, it's just a constant obsession or goal to figure out how you can get something.
Yes, and if you're we-centered, you're constantly thinking about, guess, fill in the blank, how can I give?
That's right. Okay, finally, one more is that if you are me-centered, you might struggle with behaving to belong. And that is for yourself. Maybe you feel pressure to behave a certain way to belong to a certain group, or the opposite. Maybe you are expecting people to behave a certain way so that you will accept and love and befriend them.
Yeah, wow. I'm just thinking that through. That's a hard one to chew on. If you're we-centered, then you belong just because you are totally cool with accepting other people. You accepted yourself, and you realize your value and other people's value.
And I think the big thing that we want to focus in on is we don't want those, if you had some qualities in the me-centered category, don't go beat yourself up about it. But really what we wanted to illustrate was that those we-centered attributes, there's a lot of freedom in that. It's not tied to performance, and you don't feel like you're being one-upped for a better deal. There's freedom, and there's grace, and there's love, and that really is what will rule the day, is that approach to being we-centered with your community. So anything else?
I think that's it. You guys are awesome. # Love Rules. Let's be a we-centered community, not a me-centered show.
We, not me.
That too.
Bye.